everybody, and welcome back to the Up the Guts podcast. Joining as always is your host, Trenty Alton. And yes, it is the preview episode for all the upcoming games of round... What round are we? Are we at round 7 or round 8? Round 8. So, geez, it's going so quickly. So this is where, in this part, we'll preview every game, but we'll also go over the tips, everyone's results from last week, and the standings in the Up the Guts tipping comp. I had a mare. Now, let me talk about this. So, you guys, if you watched last week's episode, you knew I did my tips alongside you guys. I decided, while I'm talking about it, I may as well do my tips while I'm at it so I don't forget it. So I was like, okay, all good, all done. And then I tipped Melbourne to beat Richmond by 20 points. Got the tip right, got the margin right. And then I backed Collingwood to beat Essendon, and I backed Freo to beat Adelaide. And I backed Brisbane to beat St Kilda, and Port Adelaide to beat North. So I thought, I'm flying 5 out of 5 and the margin. Get a text from my lovely mother. Did you do your tips? Yeah, of course. Why? It says you haven't. I didn't click submit. So I entered all my tips with you guys watching, but didn't click submit. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. I was 5 from 5 at the point. 5 from 5, had the margin right. Mind you, I would have got the Gibberish Giants and Bulldogs wrong. Then I could enter my tips from then on. So it was over the Friday or the Saturday night. It might have been the Friday night when Mum texted me. But yeah, I honestly couldn't believe it. So at the end, to end that round, I ended up having, if I pull up ESPN footy tips right now, 4 out of 9. Which made me slip down the ladder. Before we get into that, I thought, you're going to hear me crack the can open anyway. There was this drink in my fridge, BSC's Protein Water Strawberry Dream. Apparently my brother didn't like it. It's got 0 sugar, 62 calories, 15.2 grams of protein. So my brother didn't like it, so they said, Mum's like, you can have the rest. So we'll may as well just try it on here. I'm obviously going to drink it on here anyway, so we'll just try it. You got to get the... Ooh, not bad, not bad. All right, so here's the BSC Strawberry Dream Protein Water. Let's go. One more. Okay, not amazing, but not terrible. It'd be a solid 6 out of 10 in my opinion. It's good enough to me to drink for the rest of the episode. So that and recording, so that's what I'm going to be doing. But it's not something that I'm going to consistently go back and watching. Go back and drinking. But without further ado, let's get into the tips. First, let's start off with where everyone is steady in the competition. I've got down 2 slots to 14. But on top of the ladder is my dad on 45 points. Second place, we got Della. Third place is my mum on 44. So these people are on 44. Second, Della. Third, my mum. Corey, my brother, in 4th, also on 44. Dos Miller, which is Aiden, who I commentate with on a weekend for the Out East Football Netball League, is also in 44 and 5th. And Logan, mate, is in 6th. Now, in 7th place and 8th place, both on 43, we got Chris in 7th and Hodgie in 8th. On 2 people on 42, in the 9th spot, we got Zach, and in the 10th spot, we got Will, former co-host of this show. On 41 points, in 11th spot, we got Elaine in 11th. On 12th, in the 12th position, on 40, we have got JD Hawks fan, which Will has stitched his dad up right there by going with JD Hawks fan. In 13th and 14th, both on 39, is 13th is Big Pistol, so Liam Drew, and 14th is myself. 15th on 37 is Connor, and 16th is Tommy on 36, and Ryan Basnack is in 17th place on 33. Now let's get to previewing the round coming up. So if I click tip now over here, and don't we start off with a blockbuster for a Thursday night? Been really enjoying Thursday night footy, but this might be one I don't mind turning off the TV early too. It's Essendon and North, although it could also be a really good game. Essendon have the tendency to not perform against the lower teams, I find. And if you ask any Essendon fan, this is the type of game that they would drop. But I'm going to be tipping Essendon. and we're going to keep the margin. I think they get it done by, I'm going to go with 32 points. They'll be hoping for more, but I'm just going to go with 32 points. Peter Wright being in there. I think Zach Merritt's having an all-time season. Nick Martin's been really good. Zach Reed, who I mentioned in the previous episode, is someone who's having a really good season, I think. The key to them stopping them, obviously Paul Curtis, as 3-week suspension, has been upheld. Which I'm not 100% agreeing with. But that's been upheld, and so they're only really damaging forward to Zerha and Larkey. So if you stop Larkey, I think that they'll win by 6+ goals, in my opinion. They just have too much thing. But what can get North over the line is they need to get on top in the midfield. Luke Davies-Uniacke needs to do a bit better and damage the game a bit more. Shouldn't be leaving it up to Luke Parker. Tom Powell a bit more. Maybe even putting Harry Shees will usually be more damaging with the footy. Trying to think who else is their midfield. Jai Simpkin, I think, has had a good career at hitting the scoreboard, but I think if they are to win this game or be competitive, it starts in that midfield because we already know their defense is building and is not at its best. And with Peter Wright and Kyle Langford down there, I don't know how they're going to go. We know North get a lot of goals kicked on them, but if they get on top in their midfield and get first use of the footy, it could make for an interesting game. But I will be going with Essendon. Then Friday night, 7:40 p.m. under the dome at Marvel Stadium, we got St Kilda and Fremantle. Now, if Fremantle are proved to be a good side, they need to win away from home. Now, we got Grumpy Ross last week, and we got leaked John Longmuir audio where he was swearing at his players, which everyone was like, geez, that's not like Longmuir. But I'm 50-50 with this game, honestly. I honestly don't know who to go. I am... Ooh. You know what? I'm going the Saints. I'm going the Saints because Marvel Stadium, they get it done, I think. Nasiah Wanganeen-Malera is a star. I think Jack Sinclair turns it on. I think Wilkie can do it. They need... For them to win, though, Wilkie needs to go to Josh Tracy. They won't want that to happen. They'll probably want to send Dougal Howard to him. But they need... If they shut down Josh Tracy, and then I think they need to play a defensive role in Shai Bolton. I'm just trying to think of their defensive. Wanganeen-Malera is not defensive. Sinclair is not defensive. And he's better when off halfback and through the midfield. If I just have a look at the Saints players last week, who could possibly... Does Winhager play a bit of halfback and just lock on to Shai Bolton? Or do they send him to a Caleb Serong? Because if the game's going to be changed, I think Steele goes head-to-head with Serong. He has to play a negating role, in my personal opinion. And then I think Winhager could have the opportunity of playing halfback and just really locking on to Shai Bolton, make him work for his possessions, because Shai Bolton is the game changer, himself and Hayden Young. So going to either him or Hayden Young would be the ideal one, but the only difference thing is Hayden Young's been playing out of the square a bit more, so I don't like Winhager going back and playing full back. So I'm going to be going with... I think I'm going to back the Saints just purely because it's at Marvel. And we had Grumpy Ross, so he would have been all over them during the week to have and they'll want to respond. Starting off Saturday night, the first game at Mars Stadium being Ballarat, is Bulldogs and Port Adelaide. Now, Port Adelaide were a bit disappointing last week. They did get the win over North Melbourne, but only by, was it 9 points in the end? Let's have a look. It was something along the... 9 points. So only 9 points in the end. I'm loving Rosie's move to halfback. That's how what he was drafted as. I think he's using... getting the metres gain, had over 700 metres gain there. He's running carry, but he's also hitting the scoreboard when he's down there. Zach Butters coming back into the side has made a massive difference. Horn Francis, although all the talk about him, I think he's having an exceptional year. He's a game changer. And Sam Powell-Pepper's one who's flying under the radar, I think, consistently hitting goals and making an impact in that forward line. If he was to... Do they send William Drew to Bontempelli? I think that's what their plan would be. But there's a couple you can send to Bulldogs. I'm really liking the season of Ed Richards, and Liberatore has been exceptional this year as well. And Joel Fraser's a sneaking one. They're not going to tag Joel Fraser, don't get it mistaken. But he's having a really good year. So that midfield I think is really good, and that's without Chalor. So Liberatore, Bontempelli, Fraser, Ed Richards, Bailey Williams off a wing have all been really good. So for that reason, and the fact it's in Ballarat, I'm going to be going with the Bulldogs. 4:15 p.m. on Saturday at the Adelaide Oval, we got the Crows v Carlton. Now, Carlton have won 3 in a row now. They're coming strong. We don't know about Thilthorpe yet. He may play this week. He may not. But I think being at the Adelaide Oval, the Crows are going to want to respond and they're going to want to prove their dominance on the home ground. The way they do this is Carlton need to look out for Isaac Rankin. Does Jordan Dawson come out of the midfield a bit more and spend maybe a bit more time at half forward or half back? Do they have a look at Mitch Hinge? I know that's something David King would say. You're going to get into me in the comments. I'm just copying David King. But do they look at Mitch Hinge in the midfield? I just think they need a little bit of a change up. Maybe we overrate their midfield because it's like Rankin or bust at the moment. Jay Saligo's been good, but then he's dropped off at some stages. I just think they need a change of, I don't know, just change it up here and there. Excuse me for a second. I just think they need to change it up every now and then for a second. So like Rankin, so their go-to is at the moment Rankin, Crouch. Crouch was subbed out in the weekend, and Dawson, Saligo. They should keep using Rankin. I'm liking Keys at half forward, but I'm thinking when they need a bit of grunt in that midfield, Keys is your guy. Ben Keys is the guy. I'm loving him at half forward. He works hard and up the ground, but when you need your team to lift and go, I need someone who's just going to put their head over the ball. Ben Keys is the first person you should turn to. Being in Adelaide Oval, I'm going to back the Adelaide Crows in this game over Carlton, which cuts their 3-game winning streak over. We got a double header on the Saturday night, starting off both at the same time as well. First game we got here is Optus Stadium, the Eagles versus the Demons. Now, this is a really interesting game because although the Demons won last week by 20 points against Richmond, it wasn't a game where you went, wow, the D's are back. I'm going to be giving this to the Eagles. I don't know. I just said something if they're going to win a game, it's going to be this type of game where they get someone like a Demons who I think are very much underperforming. If they are to win this, and it's going to be like a statement saying, Cosy Pickett wants to come back to WA. He's more looking like to Fremantle, but like, hey, come see how much we can have fun. They moved Brady Hoff into the midfield, and he looked okay as well after being a really good defender. I just think if this is a type of game where the Eagles go out and go, okay, we're not ones to stuff around. We've got to defend. We've got to win a game eventually at home. So I'm going to be going with a roughie and going the Eagles. The other game is my boys, the Collingwood Magpies v the Geelong Cats. And this should be a cracker of a game. Geelong dropped a game that they they wouldn't have really wanted to have dropped. And really, they really shouldn't have dropped against the Blues. But Collingwood are in really good form. Dan McStay's out, so that's one less forward. I'm interested to see if they go over Charlie West, who's been dominating at VFL level, or if they go back to Mason Cox, or do they just play Membry and Mycheck? I wouldn't be opposed to that even, just have the little fellas running around their feet. Because the 3 talls, I'm still a bit iffy on. So I wouldn't be opposed to having Membry and Mycheck around there, because you still got Bobby Hill. You still got Jamie Alley, who really can play tall, but even though he's 5'9", whatever. The only thing I'm interested to see who gets the job in Patrick Dangerfield. I think he's really. I think you let Bailey Smith. I think you let the midfield go head to head. But I think the number one magnet they should be doing is Paddy Dangerfield, and I think it's going to be none other. Who do they turn to, Collingwood, when they need someone to lock down a defender? It's Bruzzy Maynard. This is Maynard time. It's going to be an interesting battle, I think, because Maynard loves a bit of push and shove, loves the contest, is super competitive, but Patrick Dangerfield's a different beast. We've seen Braden Maynard have some really good battles with Toby Green, but Patrick Dangerfield's stronger, bigger. So I reckon they send Braden Maynard to him and just say play on him all day, because he could be the type of person that changes the game. But yeah, I'm going to be backing my boys Collingwood in for that game, but I want to watch the Patrick Dangerfield v Braden Maynard. I want to keep that on really close watch. Sunday, the first game is the 1:10 p.m. at the SCG, and it is I don't think you're allowed to call it this anymore, but it's the Battle of the Bridge. It's the Swans v the Giants, and geez, weren't the Giants pretty disappointing last week against the Bulldogs, and Sydney Swans just haven't found their feet. I think that this is where both teams will come together and both probably nearly be at their best, because they both want to beat each other. Swans have had the wood over the Giants for a while now, but I think this is where the Giants start to take over. They're the better team on paper. They're the more better performed team this season to date. So I'm going to be back in the Giants, but I think it's going to be a really close game. It's going to be a really contested game. Real contested game. We'll probably see some hard hits, some scuffles here and there. But I think the midfield will just overdo them. They need to shut down Heaney. If they shut down Heaney, they win the Heaney and Warner. But I think the likes of Callahan, Green will just be a bit too much for them. It'll be interesting to see if Bedford goes to Heaney or Warner. So they both can win a game of their own brute. Let me know in the comments who you think they should send Bedford to. Oh, excuse me a second. Let's have a little swig of my protein water. For the penultimate game of the season, the MCG, it's the Hawks versus the Tigers. And now let's not beat around the bush. Hawks got... Now, they weren't it wasn't a massive win. They weren't that impressive against West Coast on the weekend. But by all means, they got the job done, back on the winners board. And let's not beat around the bush. They're going to get this job done as well. They're just going to get this job done as well. Richmond, they've been competitive. I think they'll compete, but Hawthorn's speed through the front half, I think, will just be a bit too much to Richmond. Not too much to touch on that game. Sunday, the very last game of the round. Now, this is a Sunday night blockbuster. It's the Brisbane Derby, whatever they call it down in Queensland. Oh, do you know what they call it? They call it the Q Clash. My apologies. And it's the Brisbane Lions versus the Gold Coast Suns. Now, I'm so intrigued about this game. It's the Saturday night blockbuster. We got battles everywhere. Let's not beat around the bush. Took Miller and Dane Zorko hate each other. They hate each other. Let's not beat around the bush there. There's going to be... They'd be dumb not to start. Zorko's going to be at halfback. If I am Damien Hardwick... I'm not starting Took Miller in the middle of the ground. I'm sending him straight to half forward and going straight over to Zorko. Saying, we mean business. I'm starting him straight over there. You still got Bailey Humphrey that can go through the midfield. And I think this is the game where the Gold Coast Suns, they've proven it this year, but they come from boys. They turn from boys. Let me start again. I think this is the game in the Q Clash where the Gold Coast Suns go from boys to men and overrun and outpower the Brisbane Lions. I think the Gold Coast Suns get this job down. I think they'll be too tough around the contest. I think Ben King will dominate. Ben Long's in really good form. Bailey Humphrey's the wild card, and I think they'll be too tough with the likes of Humphrey, Rao, Anderson, Flanders, Miller. I think they'll run wire, and I think this is the game where they go from boys to men and prove why they are a serious premiership contender. So I'm going to be going with the Gold Coast Suns, and they do give a best on ground medal. If I had to choose a best on ground medal for this game, let me just think. I would go with... He had a poor game last week, and I'm going to tip him to bounce back. I'm going to go with Matty Rao for the Q Clash medal, whatever they call it down there. There you have it, guys. There is my round 8 preview for all the games, and then we did all the tips, obviously, for the ladder. Now, let's make sure this time I click submit, because we don't want what happened last week. So I have now clicked submit. Thank God. Okay, now let's quickly go over who I went. First game, Essendon North. I went Essendon by 32. Friday night, I've gone the Saints over the Dockers. Saturday, I've gone the Dogs over the Power. Saturday, 4:15 p.m. I've gone the Crows over the Blues at Adelaide Oval. Saturday night doubleheader. The first game, I've gone West Coast in an upset over Melbourne at Optus Stadium. And the other game, I've gone with the Magpies over the Cats. Starting off the first game on the Sunday in the Battle of the Bridge, I've gone with the Giants to finally take some, get the wood over the Sydney Swans, who have pretty much really embarrassed them over the last few years, and last probably about 6 encounters, I think it is, they played each other. The next game, no beating around the bush. Hawthorn win that comfortably. And in the last game between the Q Clash is where the Gold Coast Suns go from boys to men and prove they are premiership contenders and overrun and defeat last year's premiers, the Brisbane Lions. Well, there you have it, guys. That's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for listening. As always, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to like and follow, turn your notification bells, and please leave a 5-star rating if you have enjoyed listening to this, as that's what helps set the show out. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like and comment on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notification bells so you don't miss when we upload. As I always say, guys, until next time, I'll see you guys then.